amount of space is contained in this amount of space. But you can't see it. It's the same answer here. You have to understand that well, let me say this. Well, let's do this. Trying to think if I can get my thought back to what I was just thinking about. I was trying to think about like almost like a proof of concept statement. It has to do with this point right here is created by the refraction. Okay, this limitation of the visible water. The limitation of the visible water is not equal to the limitation of the distant water behind it. It continues to go just because this is where the water visibly stops, it doesn't. It continues to go into this point right here that is so compressed by the light that you can't see it. And my argument for that is you're going to have to do your own research, is that if I were Bobby and I had this position, I would watch this position all the time. So I could show you boats that look like they're farther away and you can see the entire boat. You can't see the entire boat here at 10 miles. But if the conditions are right, I'm telling you, you could. That's how the landscape changes. That's how Mother Earth breathes, or whatever. Like it's a breath in and the horizon's closer to you, and then it's a breath out and the horizon's farther away from you, and whatever. Okay? Maybe I should just stop right there, because that's the claim. The claim is that the entire boat is, the reason why you're seeing these portions is because they are above the refractive index at this angle. But if you lowered your sight, or if you got higher, you're not looking over a curve, you're changing the field of view, which then opens up more light for you to see. I know what it looks like, but if you watched it and then watched it again and watched it again on different days, if I were the captain of this boat and Bobby and I could have an agreement, I would do this every single day for him. I would come in and then I'd go out, and we'd do it the next day. Come in and go out at the same time every day. Come in and go out, and come in and go out, and come in. My prediction is there are times when you will see the entire boat. And there are times when you will not. And there are times when you think the boat's there, but it's so squashed to hell, right? It's so squashed to electrified hell, and I can show that to you. I can show you a house that looks like a house, and then the Fata Morgana comes up and it goes, and it squashes it to hell. But I can also show it to you in looming conditions, because in looming conditions, the background is dropped into the background. And I'll show you just real quick. Sorry. I don't even know if I'm going to edit this out, because I'm like, if you're watching at this point, I think you're pretty much invested. So just please forgive me. I'm trying to look for the example of the contrast of, here we go. Okay. All right. So what I want you to understand is, you see this buoy here, right? This buoy is kind of like this buoy, right? It's a physical marker that's relatively in the same position every single time, right? So in my science, I have made it a practice of positioning this buoy in this frame as best I can, to the right, boom, boom, boom. You see that? The thing is that in all of these images, you don't see the same thing, do you? You don't see the same thing. But you do see the same thing, because this is the same direction. This is the same ridge. There's the same little dip in the tree line. Look how much closer. Do you see this? Does this look like this? Or, oh my God. Do you see how, look, right here and right here, I would say that this is going to be sinking unless we can zoom in tighter and see an inferior mirage. But when you can see, right, this is a mirage right here, okay? So everything above the horizon, the division between the floor and the ceiling is the horizon. The horizon between the horizon, the division between the ceiling and the floor is called the division, horizon division, okay? This limitation of the visible water is optical. It is the result of the conditions of the medium through which you were looking, and it has brought the floor closer to you. And the limitation of the visible water starts right here because there's a mirage right there. Now, this is a pretty subtle or acute mirage, as I like to say. However, where is this, like, you see where the position of this buoy is? Let's just take it for granted it's rigid. How far away is this position? I know we can get there. Get you in a boat. Stop. You're right there. Where is that position here? Because this is all the way to the shoreline. You're seeing all the way to the shoreline. So I'm going to call this 100 yards and put that right here. So you see this limitation of the water right here is actually only this far away, which means all of this space is compressed into this area right here because this entire scene doesn't look like this scene. There's less to see. It's like, it doesn't, I don't even, this is like glitching my brain out. And then look at this one right here. You see this little smudge right there? That little smudge? And this little smudge? It could be this smudge and this smudge, right? Right? You see that? This one is this one. This one is this one. It's like right there at the crest, okay? So you see how it's smashed to hell? That's all of this distance. You see how this just blurs into just, right? I call these aqua bands. This one is just one large solid, and it just gradients into. This is where the shoreline is. This is the shoreline right there. Okay, but it's so tightly twisted in terms of the energy that's compressed at that point. There is no mirage. There is no mirage here. This is what I call looming because it extends. So there's got to be a different... Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is what I call looming because of the heliocentric model where it requires that you see farther than you are before, right? So this is the contrast. How far away are you seeing right here? Oh, I can't see very far at all. I don't even know what those are. That's not my question. How far are you seeing right here? 9 miles. This is this little house right here. That's 9 miles away. And there it is in a different presentation, but you can see down to the shoreline. But you can't see any details because like there's only so much information that's getting to your eye. And then here it's even farther removed, right? All of that stuff there is like gone. It's just, that's how tight the energy gets intensified. Okay? Does that make sense? Right? This is over here, this is a very acute because look, we only have a certain amount of distance. That's not enough distance. That's enough distance. Look, you see, like, this is enough distance. That's enough distance. That's enough distance. Clearly not enough, and clearly not enough. So why does it stop here when it doesn't stop until it gets to the shoreline here? This is the shoreline. This is where the physical water stops. That means that when you see it closer to you, like right here and right here, that's not where the physical water stops. It's all contained in that degree. This mirage is different than this one. I'm saying that it's possible. it's possible that I would call that a mirage, right? Yep, I would right there. See that you got that little line right? This line right here is mirrored right here. This right here, possible, like this is inverted on itself. This could be, this clearly is smudged out, but this is reminiscent of a mirage. That means that this limitation of this limitation of the visible water is not the limitation of the physical water, which continues right here until you get to that it's in that area as big as that cursor marker is. And then in this one, it's got 1.5, right? Because the vanishing line is right here at the tippy part of my finger, right here. Here's the physical trees. This part is not physical. This part is not physical. Here's the physical house. This part is not physical. But all of the distance from here to here is in this area right here. Because this mirage begins here and ends here. This is along your x-axis. This is like looking at, so that if you raise your perspective, that mirage would change with your changing. If you lowered your perspective here, it would get tighter. But that's not curvature. That's the limitation of your focal point across the plane through which you are looking. Like when you look straight ahead, there's an imaginary beam of light coming out of your eyes. You're looking straight ahead. That's a horizontal line of sight across. And the only time you can't see anything is when the parallel lines meet in your visual space. Because you know that when you stand on railroad tracks, that there's a compression of that space visually where you can no longer see the train, even though it's right there in front of you. That's not curvature. That's the limitation of your ability to see under those conditions with your perspective. It doesn't get any, I think, more simple than that, okay? So then let's get out of here, go back here. Go here. And then we'll watch the yacht come in, okay? So at this point, all we can see is the top aerial portion and the windscreen. What I want you to pay attention to is the activity that you can see even right here at 7 seconds. Let me go all the way back to 0, okay? You will notice that the space that you have here above the horizon, which is the windscreen of the yacht, it becomes more solid blue or dark, and then it becomes grayish or whatever. My question to you is, what is that? I believe that it's the interaction of that target within that space, and so when that, it's possible even like, look, okay, you're gonna see what I'm saying. You'll see it come in and go out. Just take note of it. However, this is not curvature, because you have a 1.5 miles to this marker, and then let's say a 0.5 mile to the horizon. So that's 2 miles. So that means that there's 8 miles. 8 miles of space. What does 8 miles of space look like? Well, from this angle, here's the beginning, and here's the end. This is where the yacht is. This is where you are. This is what 8 miles of space looks like on the side view. Well, let's look at it from the top view. Sure, here comes the boat. There you are. That's the distance it has to. Now we're going to look at it from this distance, and this is 8 miles, and so is this at this angle. That's it. That's what's happening right here. So now there's now there's a solid blue, and then you got a spray. Well, I was calling the bow spray, and I was incorrect. But then you have there again, it's dancing, right? That is mirage, okay? That is mirage. So then, okay, so then what's your physics of mirage? My physics of mirage is that the evidence that I'm seeing right now is that right here at the horizon is a very acute mirage. And we understand that even Andrew Thomas Young has it written in a published article that at sea, an inferior mirage is what creates the horizon. And so that's what we're seeing right here. If this boat were not here, how would you know there was an inferior mirage out there? How would you know if it was sinking? How would you know if it was looming, right? Listen very carefully. Like if I could help Andrew Thomas Young, and I'm like pushing him against the ropes right now by being confident in my position, by saying, I don't have a problem with your math. Like if you want to say that this diagram is a mathematical expression of something I see in nature, I say, great, show me that in nature. Like you see, like what did you draw, right? Because that's a different language. Right? So if he says, oh, look at this diagram, this is what refraction looks like on the, I'm like, yeah, great. Show me that out in nature. Like what is, like, how did you get that information? What did you study to get that information? Because it had to come from somewhere. Do you get what I'm saying? But no one is talking about this stuff the way I am. There are a lot of people, do not misunderstand what I'm saying. There are a lot of people who are contributing to this research by their painstaking efforts to get out and film these kinds of things. I am, to my knowledge, more aggressive than they are in what I'm doing right now. I mean, like, if you're interested in understanding anything, right? If you don't ask any questions about a person's position, like if you're not interested, then it doesn't matter. You're not going to argue with them. But then the only other two options is to have an intelligent conversation where you say, let me understand your position. I don't think I understand what you're saying. Can you explain it to me? And I'm thinking, yeah, great. Let me do this. This is my explanation. That is the sign of an intelligent person. An unintelligent person is the one who's argumentative without listening to the position, like just doesn't listen and just tears down these ideas and straw man in his mind based on things that he thinks that blah, blah, blah. When I'm like, no, did I say that? Well, no, but most people, no, I'm not most people. Like I'm saying something specific, right? So you have three options, and only two of them are optional. The first one is you don't care a lick about this conversation, right? Perfectly within your rights. The second right that you have is to simply hear out the argument. Those are the two positive responses. The last one is the sign of an ignoramus. An ignoramus. He wants to remain ignorant and hold on to his idea. And I mean, I don't catch myself very well sometimes. I just want to be that messenger. And so it takes me a while to think like this person is not, they're just not listening. And at that point, there's no point in going forward. They've been argumentative the whole time, just fighting. Where a person is just like, I don't understand it. I mean, like, I'm trying to hear what you, so here we go. I think that all that cribbage board, like this not that complicated, right? Right? So then you have this part of the boat at that angle, right? It just like, and that's all refraction. Like that's not the scale right there. You can't do a blink test and scale that. All right. Anyway, so we're going to keep watching this. There's a dance right there. You see how it changed to more gray. Oh. And then look at this, right? Right? That is refraction coming in at that angle, which is very much like a Fata Morgana. Okay, so if this boat could maybe hold this position and we would just watch this turbulence through the air, this distortion go through, and it's moving right to left. This energy is moving right to left, and it's going across the windscreen of the yacht, And at this angle, what is this color coming from? Where is it coming from? I think it's coming from the sky. That's my opinion. And then there it goes away. So, in my opinion, the scaling of this works because I believe that the boat is cresting and troughing, cresting and troughing. And so we're going to see a pattern. Here it comes up, and there it goes down. There it comes up. You see that? Now it's floating in the sky right there, right? This is where the myth of the Flying Dutchman came from. It looks like, because sometimes it's stable, the boat's moving, but if this boat were stationary, it's possible that this space would remain underneath this boat. And you were thinking, like, what is that? What's flying in the sky right there? That's the Flying Dutchman. But they don't understand, and they didn't understand at that time, that the limitation of the visible water is not the limitation of the physical water. It continues at that point to be compressed into whatever energy is right here. Again, the entire boat is right here. Why is this so big? Yes. The same reason why this is going to look different than the later version of this. Even though this is the same focal length, even though this is the same, it's a different part of the day, different refraction. It's going to look differently. This would look differently. In looming conditions, you would be able to see the entire boat. That's why they call it looming, because they say this is the curve of the earth. But if that boat were to just anchor and wait till tomorrow, and then the next day you look at it and you can actually see the water beyond it, that's what looming is. But they don't even show you that. I'm giving you more information even than Andrew Thomas Young does. He gives you a completely inaccurate representation of what he calls looming. The science needs an enema, okay? It's now it's in a trough. Now it's coming up and it's cresting. Now it's troughing. And it's getting closer. So now the windscreen is going to be split in half by the mirage. But it's getting closer to you. You're going to see a more consistent presence of this wispy band of white ghost, right? This is where the fold line of the mirage is. And as it comes closer, it's going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. This is where the mirage starts, right here. Gee golly willikers, Bobby. All right, he goes off here, he comes back. You can see even the change of the polarity. He's moving away. Look at the change in the color of the sky. Like this position of the horizon is changing every single time. That's not like a linear line. Excuse me, he's got to come back and find the boat, find the yacht. So now the yacht's closer. So now we have the full windscreen, and now in here is the rest of the boat changing as the middle deck is coming into view. So what I'm saying is like if we had the ability to put someone here, if there was a buoy right here, that buoy would be now, let's say 4.3, like this is 8.7 miles. So then let's say the buoy was at 5.8 miles. So then there's 3 miles of distance between in this spot. That's what this looks like. That's what this looks like. But we're looking 8.7 miles away. And now we have the breaking of the next level, right? So now we're back to when it comes back into view, right there, it's on a crest. It's now higher. You're not looking over a curve. That amount of information is now above the angle of your irresolution. You can resolve that information, but when it goes down like right now, that's twisting in it. And then you come out of that and you go back into it. You can come out of it and you go back into it. It's electric. You can't see forever. The horizon, no matter what the condition, no matter if it takes you far, look, oh man, I think I could see really, really far. That's an optical effect due to the conditions of the medium through which you were looking. You can see farther now. That's just extending the plane out in front of you. So now, as it comes closer, we have just more and more of the yacht remaining consistent. So now look here, that's interesting. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. So you have the bow spray here, right? So this boat, okay, so right now the Arrowhead is at 8.75 miles. I'm going to say that that boat is 2 miles from us, which means that there is 6 miles between this boat and this boat in this area right here. Just like this amount of space is contained in this amount of space. So we can see the bow spray, but it's going to go out of frame. It would be interesting to see if it would go into, right? But we're going to watch this one come out of. So just watch this in reverse. What's it look like going into it? Reverse. Because that's what he's showing us right now. Instead of, look. Right? Let's just do that. There's the boat. Right? Look at how roiling the horizon is. Okay, that's because there's an inferior mirage out there still. Okay, but if we're gonna now let's pretend that this boat is going away from us. It's just going away and going away and going away. There's no curvature here. There's no curvature here. There's no curvature. This is just distance, distance, distance. And at this point, this boat would look like this if we were watching this in reverse. Okay, so we can see the bow spray. Okay, look at how the waves are dancing in effect with the conditions as well. Look right here. So we're still a little bit too close. Bow sprays pretty direct. See how long it takes to get, right? So you can still see bow spray right there. All right, whatever. It's hard to tell. It's like this is just coming closer. Oh, that's what I was doing. God darn it. God darn it. Like this is going backwards. We're going to go backwards into. Right? So, look. So you can, at this point, right here, at this point, how far away is the boat from this point? Because this is beyond the boat. So we can clearly see the bow spray here. Bow spray, right? Bow spray. But as it goes back now, all of this information is just getting squashed into this same space because it's going farther away. And that which is closest to, right, there's going to come a point at which we're not going to be able to see the bow spray anymore. Okay? So this is just going into the distance now backwards. So now it's coming out of the distance. But even then you can see that there's cresting and troughing still. So now I can see that's where I first saw it. Right there, like this is right still in the mirage. You see right there. It just opens and closes, and then here we come with the spray, I think, for the first time right here. Right there. Okay? So now, all of this was just back here at this point, but farther back. And now it's just getting closer and closer, right? So now, right? So is this point back here farther away than this point right here? How far is that distance in that little angle right there? Because the horizon is closer. I mean, sorry, the yacht is closer to us than the horizon now. But see how that's interesting? Like, look at, watch this. Watch this. So you have this. Watch this spray right here. This spray that you're going to see can't be in front of this boat, but the boat is causing it. Otherwise, where? Watch this spray come up right there, and then right there. Like, where is that? That's behind this, because this is a bow spray result. There it is again. And that bow spray starts here and then ripples out and sometimes comes up. So it's like, look at that spatial distance. Like, that looks like it's right on the horizon when it's not. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is all just so dynamic. In any other condition, this would never look the same. Even if there were an inferior mirage here, it would not look the same. Because if you were able to elevate yourself during this event, Bobby, you would probably, in my mind, as you raised your view up, you would probably see the event grow. But I've never done it, so I don't know. But regardless, this point right here, if I showed you this picture and said, what's creating the limit to the water right here, what would your answer be? Here's the position of the boat here. Here is like someplace out. Like, this is just distance over water. This is a straight line looking down at it, isn't it? It's just I mean, you know what I mean? It's a direct line over the surface of the water, which is active but level. So then my question is, what is the limitation of, to what do you attribute the limitation of the water here? Because it's not going to be in the same position. You see this marker right here? This marker looks like it's right on the horizon. Some days you won't be able to see this marker because the refraction swallows it up and brings the horizon closer to you. But when you look at it with the naked eye, it doesn't look that way. You have to have compared notes. This horizon is zoomed in. If he backed out and you just saw this horizon and then went out the next day, it would be right there where you were looking. It doesn't look, unless you have something to compare that with. And I'm saying to you right now, I have footage where on the Chesapeake Bay, the closest marker to me gets swallowed up in the mirage. And then in another day, it's right there. Oh, and I can see two more beyond it. Where did they come from? But they would be up here in the visual space because that's how we see our world. There's a convergence point in our field of view where our vision comes together. And I think I was saying this before, so let me say it right now. Whenever you go out and look at the horizon, okay, there's either looming or sinking or towering or stooping or mirage. Those are the only 5 choices. Well, what do you mean if there's not? What if there's not a mirage? Okay, then there's no mirage. Well, then is there a Fata Morgana? Because that's what happens with stooping and looming, or stooping and towering, because the activity is so fast and so vibrant that it distorts on a just second by moment change. Right? So let's say, for instance, travel, how do you know that there are those five things? There has to be either mirage, looming, sinking, towering, or stooping. How do you know? Like, couldn't there be a sixth? Okay, you show me what that looks like. That's your challenge. If you think the claim is there, right? So I'm telling you, based on my research, there's only five ways that we can ever see the distance. It's one of these five ways. And every single one of these ways has no need to appeal to the shape of the earth unless you can see something in the distance that breaks that invisibility barrier, which would be, at a very long distance, a mountain. But it's only going to be the proximate mountain. You're not going to see Mount Fuji. All right. Well, I mean, I don't know if I need to keep going. It is what it is. It was what it was. It will be what it will be. I have been your host, Travel Mateus, on another exciting adventure of the Plain Truth 2.0. Until next time.